Okay, so we continue from chapter 4, text 5. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavasarjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam vetta parantapa. Word to word. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the person of Godhead said, Bahuni, many me of mine, vyatitani have passed, Janmani births, Tava of yours, Cha and also Arjuna, O Arjuna. Tani, all those, Aham, I, Veda, do know, Sarvani, all, Na, not. Tvam, yourself, Vetta, no, Parantapa, O subduer of the enemy. Translation, by His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Many, many birds, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, we have information of many, many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated there, Advaitamachyutam anadi rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabhamatma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Brahma Samhita 533. I worship the Supreme Person of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning, although expanded into unlimited forms, still the same original, the oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord are usually understood by the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure, unallied devotees. It is also stated in Brahma Samhita, Ramadimurtishu kala niyamena tishtan nanavataram bhuvaneshu kintu Krishna svayam samabhavad paramah pumanyo govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Brahma Samhita 539. I worship the Supreme Person of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is always situated in various incarnations, such as Rama, Nrsimha, and many sub-incarnations as well, but who is the original person of Godhead known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also. In the Vedas, also it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, nevertheless manifests himself in innumerable forms. He is like the Vaidurya stone, which changes color yet still remains one. All those multiforms are understood by the pure unlight devotees, but not by a simple study of the Vedas. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhaktau. Devotees like Arjuna are constant companions of the Lord, and whenever the Lord incarnates, the associated devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of these devotees, and in this verse it is understood that some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivasvan, Arjuna, in a different capacity, was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that the Lord remembered the incidents, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between the part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who could subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what had happened in his various past births. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal to the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is a constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. The Lord is described in the Brahma Samhita as infallible, Achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord, but by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the infallible condition of the Lord, whereas a non-devotee or a demon cannot understand the transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in the Gita cannot be understood by demonic brains. Krishna remembered acts which were performed by him millions of years before, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Arjuna and Krishna are eternal in nature. We may also note herein that the living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his Satchidananda body. He is Advaita, which means there is no distinction between his body and himself. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because the Lord's body and self are identical, his position is always different from the ordinary living entity, even when he descends to the material platform. The demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, as the Lord explains in the following verse. Text number 6. Ayopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim svamadhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Word to word. Ajaha unborn, Api although son being so, Avyaya without deterioration, Atma body, Bhutanam all those who are born, Ishvara the Supreme Lord, Api although son being so, Prakritim transcendental form, Svam of myself, Adhishtaya being so situated, Sambhavami I do incarnate, Atma Mayaya by my internal energy. Translation. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Purport. The Lord has spoken about the peculiarity of his birth. Hmm. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, he remembers everything of his many past births, whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours before. If someone is asked what he did exactly at the same time one day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before, and yet man often dare claim to be God or Krishna. One should not be misled by such meaningless claims. Then again, the Lord explains his prakriti or his form. Prakriti means nature as well as Svarupa, or one's own form. The Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body as the common living entity changes from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has a different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body but transmigrates from one body to another. The Lord, however, does not do so. Whenever he appears, he does so in the same original body, by his internal potency. In other words, Krishna appears in this material world in his original eternal form with two hands holding a flute. He appears exactly in his eternal body, uncontaminated by this material world. Although he appears in the same transcendental body and is Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes birth in like an ordinary living entity. Despite the fact that Lord Krishna grows from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth, astonishingly enough, he never ages beyond youth. At the, at the time of the battle of Kurukshetra, he had many grandchildren at home, or, in other words, he had sufficiently aged by material calculations. Still, he looked just like a young man 20 or 25 years old. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age because he never grows old like us. Although he is the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future, neither his body nor his intelligence ever deteriorates or changes. Therefore, it is clear that in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn internal form He is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. Factually, his appearance and disappearance are like the sun's rising, moving before us, and then disappearing from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun is set, and when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in its fixed position, but owing to our defective, insufficient senses, we calculate the appearance and disappearance of the sun in the sky. And because his appearance and disappearance are completely different from that of any ordinary common living entity, it is evident that he is eternal blissful knowledge by his internal potency, and he is never contaminated by material nature. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Person of God is unborn, yet he still appears to take his birth in multi-manifestations. The Vedic supplementary literatures also confirm that even though the Lord appears to be taking his birth, he is still without change of body. In the Bhagavatam, he appears before his mother as Narayana with four hands and the decorations of the six kinds of full opulences. His appearance in his original eternal form is his causeless mercy. According to the Vishvakosha dictionary, the, the Lord is conscious of all of his previous appearances and disappearances, but a common living entity, forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on this earth. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and self or between his quality and body. A question may now be raised as to why the Lord appears and disappears in this world. This is explained in the next verse. So do you know the next verse? Text number 4:7. To annihilate the demoniac and is it this one? Oh yes, Prabhu. Text 4, chapter 4, text 7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamaham. Yada, whenever. Yada, wherever. He, certainly. Dharmasya, of religion. Glanihi, discrepancies. Bhavati, manifested, becomes Bharata, or descendant of Bharata. Abhyutanam, predominance. Adharmasya, of irreligion. Tada, at that time. Atmanam, self. Sarajami, manifest. Aham, I. This sounds like my name. Translation. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharata and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Oh, it wasn't that one. It will come soon, I think. Purport. The word Srijami is significant here. Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation because according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Srijami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of Dvapara Yuga or the 28th millennium of the 8th Manu, in one day of Brahma. Still, he has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord himself to Brahma from within his heart. Therefore, the principles of Dharma or religion are the direct orders of the Supreme Person of Godhead. Dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavad pranitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord, and the Lord directly orders at the end of the Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto Him only and nothing more. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto Him, and whenever such principles are disturbed by the demonic, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavatam, we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna, who appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for a particular purpose in the Vedas, people of demonic tendency still took to animal sacrifice without reference to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He even advents himself anywhere, and he can advent himself anywhere and everywhere, and wherever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same: to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his sons or servants, or himself in some disguised form. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a mathematical principle that is true both in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the four orders and the four statuses. How is this said? Statuses of social life, and will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifest and non-manifest only under different circumstances. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna Vishnu Prabhu, Hare Krishna Luvesh Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Dear Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please continue, Prabhu.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much for joining, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Does someone want to read?
Can I read, Prabhu? Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Text 8. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Synonyms. Paritranaya, for the deliverance, sadhunam, of the devotees, vinashaya, for the annihilation, cha, also, duskritam, of the miscreants, dharma, principles of religion, samsthapanarthaya, to re-establish, sambhavami, I do appear, yuge, millennium, yuge, after millennium. Translation. In order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. Purport. According to Bhagavad Gita, a sadhu, holy man, is a man in Krishna consciousness. A person may appear to be irreligious, but if he has the qualification of Krishna consciousness wholly and fully, he is to be understood to be a sadhu. A dushkritam and dushkritam applies to one who doesn't care for Krishna consciousness. Such miscreants or dushkritam are described as foolish and the lowest of mankind, even though they may even though they may be decorated with mundane education, whereas another person who is 100% engaged in Krishna consciousness is accepted as sadhu, even though such a person may neither be learned nor well cultured. As far as the atheistic are concerned, it is not necessary for the Supreme Lord to appear as he is to destroy them, as he did with the demons Ravana and Kamsa. The Lord has many agents who are quite competent to vanquish demons, but the Lord especially descends to appease his unalloyed devotees who are always harnessed by the demonic. The demon harassed by the demonic. The demon harasses the devotee, even though the latter may uh, even though the latter may happen to be his kin. Although Prahlada Maharaj was the son of Hiranyakashipu, he was nonetheless persecuted by his father. Although Devaki, the mother of Krishna, was the sister of Kamsa, she and her husband Vasudeva were persecuted only because Krishna was to be born of them. So Lord Krishna appeared primarily to deliver Devaki rather than kill Kamsa, but both were performed simultaneously. Therefore, it is said here that to deliver the devotee and vanquish the demon miscreants, the Lord appears in different incarnations. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Krishnadasa Kaviraja, the following verses summarize these principles of incarnation. सृष्टि हेतु ये मूर्ति प्रपंचे अवतारे चे ईश्वर मूर्ति अवतार नामधारे मायातीत परव्योमे सवार अवस्थान विश्वे अवतारी धारे अवतार नाम. The avatar or incarnation of Godhead descends from the kingdom of God for material manifestation, and the particular form of the personality of Godhead who so descends is called an incarnation or avatara. Such incarnations are situated in the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. When they descend to the material creation, they assume the name avatara. There are various kinds of avatars, such as Purushavataras, Gunavataras, Leelavataras, Shaktyavesha Avatara, Manvantara Avatara, and Yugavataras, all appearing on schedule all over the universe. But Lord Krishna is the primeval Lord, the fountainhead of all avatars. Lord Sri Krishna descends for the specific purpose of mitigating the anxieties of the pure devotees, who are very anxious to see him in his original Vrindavana pastimes. Therefore, the prime purpose of the Krishna Avatara is to satisfy his unalloyed devotees. The Lord says that he incarnates himself in every millennium. This indicates that he incarnates also in the age of Kali, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The incarnation in the age of Kali is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who spread the worship of Krishna by the Sankirtana movement, congregational chanting of the holy names, and spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. He predicted that this culture of Sankirtana would be broadcast all over the world, from town to town and village to village. Lord Chaitanya, as the incarnation of Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is described secretly, but not directly, in the confidential parts of the revealed scriptures, such as the Upanishads, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, etc. The devotees of Lord Krishna are much attracted by the Sankirtana movement of Lord Chaitanya. This avatar of the Lord does not kill the miscreants, but delivers them by the causeless mercy of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Ruvesh, Prabhu, I think it's your turn.
जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम एवं यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सोऽर्जुन. Synonyms: Janma, birth, work, karma. Karma, work. Cha, also, me, of mind. Divyam, transcendental. Evam, like this. Yaha, anyone who. Vetti, knows. Tattvataha, in reality. Tyaktva, leaving aside. Deham, this body. Punaha, again. Janma, birth. Na, never. Eti, does attain. Mam, unto me. Eti, does attain. Saha, he. Arjun or Arjuna. Translation: one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, of Arjuna. Purport: So the Lord's descent from his transcendental abode is already explained in the sixth verse. One who can understand the truth of the appearance of the personality of Godhead is already liberated from material bondage, and therefore he returns to the kingdom of God immediately after quitting this present material body. Such liberation of the living Such liberation of the living entity from material bondage is not at all easy. The impersonalists and the yogis attain liberation only after much trouble and many, many births. Even then, the liberation they achieve, merging into the impersonal Brahmajyoti of the Lord, is only partial, and that there is every risk of returning again to this material world. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after ending this body and does not run the risk of returning again to this material world. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the Lord has many, many forms and incarnations. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction, although it is incomprehensible to mundane scholars and empiric philosophers. As stated in the Vedas, Eko Devo Nitya Leelanurakto Bhakta Vyapi Hridyantaratma. The one Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally engaged in many, many transcendental forms and relationships with his unalloyed devotees. This Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord. He who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculations, attains the highest perfection stage of liberation. Simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can without a doubt attain liberation. The Vedic version, Tattvamasi, is actually applied in this case. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the supreme, or who says unto the Lord, "You are the same supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead," is certainly liberated instantly. And consequently, his entrance into this transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. In other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection, and this is confirmed by the following Vedic assertion: Tam eva vididvat timrityameti nanyah pantha vidyate yanaya. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no alternative, because anyone who does not understand Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is surely in the mode of ignorance. Consequently, he will not attain salvation simply, so to speak, by licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey, or by interpreting the Bhagavad Gita according to mundane scholarship. Such empiric philosophers may assume very important roles in the material world, but they are not necessarily eligible for liberation. Such puffed up material scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotee of the Lord. One should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection. Reward. Would I to continue? Okay, I'll continue then.
So,
वीतराग भय क्रोधा मन्मया मामपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञान तपसा पूतामदभावमागताः. Synonyms: Vita, freed from; Raga, attachment; Bhaya, fear; Krodha, anger; Matmaya, fully in me; Mam, unto me; Upashritaha, being fully situated; Bahavaha, many; Jnana, knowledge; Tapasa, by penance; Putaha, being purified; Matbhavam, transcendental love for me; Agataha, attained. Translation: being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. Purport: as described above, it is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Generally, people who are attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism that it is almost impossible for them to understand that there is a transcendental body which is imperishable, full of knowledge, and eternally blissful. In the materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance, and completely miserable. Therefore, people in general keep this same bodily idea in mind when they are informed of the personal form of the Lord. So, for such materialistic men, the form of the gigantic material manifestation is supreme. Consequently, They consider the Supreme to be impersonal. And because they are too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining the personality after liberation from matter frightens them. When they are informed that spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming persons again, and so they naturally prefer a kind of merging into the impersonal void. Generally, they compare the living entities to the bubbles of the ocean, which merge into the ocean. That is the highest perfection of spiritual existence attainable without individual personality. This is a kind of fearful stage of life, devoid of perfect knowledge of spiritual existence. Furthermore, there are many persons who cannot understand spiritual existence at all. Being embarrassed by so many theories and by contradictions of various types of philosophical speculation, they become disgusted or angry and foolishly conclude that there is no supreme cause and that everything is ultimately void. So, such people are in a diseased condition of life. Some people are too materially attached and therefore do not give attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge into the supreme spiritual cause, and some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. So, this last class of men take to the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and their affective hallucinations.
What a perfect description.
Yes, Prabhu.
So
I
they're
think this can be sent to Devarsh Prabhu. I think he was asking about something to be sent for, intoxication. Like he doesn't want to scare them at the same time, so we can send him this maybe.
yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So this last class of men take to the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and their affective hallucinations are sometimes accepted as spiritual vision. One has to get rid of all three stages of attachment to the material world: negligence of spiritual life, fear of a spiritual person's identity, and the conception of void that underlies the frustration of life. To get free from these three stages of material concept of life, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, and follow the disciplines and regulative principles of devotional life. The last stage of the devotional life is called bhava, or transcendental love of Godhead. According to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the science of devotional service, Adav Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sango, Bhajana Kriya, ततो नर्थनिवृत्तिः स्यात् ततो निष्ठा रुचिस्तथा ततः अत्थासक्तिस्ततो भावस्ततः प्रेमाभ्युदञ्चिति साधकानाम् अयं प्रेम्णः प्रादुर्भावे भवेत् क्रमः. In the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. This will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with persons who are spiritually elevated. In next stage, one becomes initiated by an elevated spiritual master, and under his instruction, the neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service. By execution of devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes free from all material attachment, attains steadiness and self realization, and acquires a taste for hearing about the absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So, this taste leads one further forward to attachment for Krishna consciousness, which is matured in bhava, or the preliminary stage of transcendental love of God. Real love for God is called prema, the highest perfectional stage of life. In the prema stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So, by the slow process of devotion service under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, one can attain the highest stage, being freed from all material attachment, from the fearfulness of one's individual spiritual personality, and from the frustrations resulting from void philosophy. Then one can ultimately attain to the abode of the Supreme Lord. Hari Bol, Jai Shri Krishna.
Haribol. Thank you, Prabhu.
All pleasure has been true.
Okay, Pranjal Prabhu's turn. Haribol. Vishnu Prabhu, do you want to read more?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
ये यदा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तां तदेव भजाम्यहं मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्य पार्थ सर्वशः ye all of them yada as mam unto me prapadyante surrender tan unto them tada so eva certainly bhajami do I reward aham I mama my vartma parth anuvartande do follow manushya all men Partha, O son of Pritha, Sarvasha, in all respects. Translation. All of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Purport. Everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence and as the all-pervading Supersoul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is the only fully realized by his pure devotees. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world also, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude, just as the devotees want him. One devotee may want Krishna as the supreme master, another as his personal friend, another as his son, and still another as his lover. Krishna rewards all the devotees equally, according to their different intensities of love for him. In the material world, the same reciprocations of feeling are there, and they are equally exchanged by the Lord with the different types of worshippers. The pure devotees, both here and in the transcendental abode, associate with him in person and are able to render personal service to the Lord and thus derive transcendental bliss in his loving service. As for those who are impersonalists and who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence. Such impersonalists do not agree to accept the eternal, blissful personality of Godhead. Consequently, they cannot relish the bliss of transcendental personal service to the Lord, having extinguished their individuality. Some of them, who are not situated even in the impersonal existence, return to this material field to exhibit their dormant desire for activities. They are not admitted in the spiritual planets, but they are again given a chance to act on the material planets. For those who are fruity workers, the Lord award the desired results of their prescribed duties as the Yajneshwara, and those who are yogis seeking mystic powers are awarded such powers. In other words, everyone is dependent for success upon his mercy alone, and all kinds of spiritual processes are but different degrees of success on the same path. Unless, therefore, one comes to the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all attempts remain imperfect. As is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Agama Sarvakamo va Mokshakama Uddaradhi Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeda Purusham Param. Whether one is without desire, the condition of the devotees, or is desirous of all fruitive results, or is after liberation, one should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, maybe one or two more. Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta ya devata kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Word to word. Kangshantaha, desiring karmanam, of fruitive activities, siddhim, perfection. Yajante, worship by sacrifice. Iha, in the material world. Devata, the demigods. Kshipram, very quickly. He, certainly. Manushe, in human society. Loke, within this world. Siddhi bhavati, becomes successful. Karmaja, the fruitive worker. Translation. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Purport. There is a great misconception about the gods or demigods of this material world, and men of less intelligence, although passing as great scholars, take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme Lord. Actually, the demigods are not different forms of God, but they are God's different parts and parcels. God is one, and the parts and parcels are many. The Vedas say, Nityo Nityanam, God is one, Ishvara Paramah Krishna. The Supreme God is one Krishna, and the demigods are delegated with powers to manage this material world. These demigods are all living entities, Nityanam, with different grades of material power. They cannot be equal to the Supreme God Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna. Anyone who thinks that God and the demigods are on the same level is called an atheist or Pashandi. Even the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva cannot be compared to the Supreme Lord. In fact, the Lord is worshipped by demigods such as Brahma and Shiva. Shiva Virinchinutam. Yet, curiously enough, there are many human leaders who are worshipped by foolish men under the misunderstanding of anthrop- anthropomorphism or zoomorphism. Hmm. Iha Devataha denotes a powerful man or demigod of this material world, but Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, does not belong to this world. He is above or transcendental to material creation. Even Sripada Sankaracharya, the leader of the impersonalists, maintains that Narayana or Krishna is beyond this material creation. However, foolish people, Rita, Rit, Agyana, worship the demigods because they want immediate results. They get the results but do not know that results obtained are temporary and are meant for less intelligent persons. The intelligent person is in Krishna consciousness and he has no need to worship the paltry demigods for some immediate temporary benefit. The demigods of this material world, as well as their worshippers, will vanish with the annihilation of this material world. The boons of the demigods are material and temporary. Both the material worlds and their inhabitants, including the demigods and their worshippers, are bubbles in the cosmic ocean. In this world, however, human society is mad after temporary things such as the material opulence of possessing land, family, and enjoyable paraphilia. To achieve such temporary things, they worship the demigods or powerful men in human society. If a man gets some ministership in the government by worshipping a political leader, he considers that he has achieved a great boon. All of them are therefore kowtowing to the so-called leaders of or big guns in order to achieve temporary boons, and they indeed achieve such things. Such foolish men are not interested in Krishna consciousness for the permanent solution to the hardships of material existence. They are all after sense enjoyment, and to get a little facility for sense enjoyment, they are attracted to worship empowered living entities known as demigods. This verse indicates that people are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. They are most interested in material enjoyment, and therefore they worship some powerful living entity. Hmm. Chatur, text number 13. चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्म विभागसा तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्याकर्तारमव्ययम्. Chaturvanyam, the four divisions of human society, Maya by me, Srishtam, created, Guna, quality, Karma, work, Vibhagasha, in terms of division, Tasya of that, Kartaram, the father, Apialdo, Mam me Viddi, you may know, Akartaram, as the non-doer, Avyayam, being unchangeable. Translation. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me, and although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. Purport. The Lord is the creator of everything. Everything is born of him, everything is sustained by him, and everything after annihilation rests in him. He is therefore the creator of the four divisions of the social order, beginning with the intelligent class of man, technically called Brahmanas, due to their being situated in the mode of goodness. Next is the administrative class, technically called the Kshatriyas, due to their being situated in the mode of passion. The mercantile men, called the Vaishyas, are situated in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras, or laborer class, are situated in the ignorant mode of material nature. In spite of his creating the four divisions of human society, Lord Krishna does not belong to any of these divisions, because he is not one of the conditioned souls, a section of whom form human society. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate man from the animal status. The above mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for the systematic development of Krishna consciousness. The tendency of particular man toward work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. Such symptoms of life, according to different modes of material nature, are described in the 18th chapter of this book. A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is above even the Brahmanas, because a Brahmana by quality is supposed to know about the Brahman, the supreme absolute truth. Most of them approach the impersonal and Brahman manifestation of Lord Krishna, but only a man who transcends the limited knowledge of Brahman and reaches the knowledge of the Supreme Person of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaishnava. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different plenary expansions of Krishna, namely Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, etc. However, as Krishna is transcendental to the system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all divisions of human society, whether we consider the divisions of community, nation, or species. Even species. Okay, Haribol, now we go to the six Astakam prayers. चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मास्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्
नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पिता नियमितः स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशमिहा जनिनानुरागः
तृणादवि सुनिश्चयेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीया सदा हरि
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि
अयिनन्दतनुज किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कज स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय
नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदाहृदया गिरा पुलकर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति
गा इदं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रविश्य शून्या इदां जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
आश्लेष्यवापादं रतां पिनष्टुमाम् अदर्शनान् मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names, like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful woman, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
Haribol, Sri Siksastakam ki jai. Okay, then the 10 offenses.
Jai,
First of
Jai.
is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to be or independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu.
Third offense, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance with the Vedic version.
To consider glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination.
Sixth offense, to give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord.
To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name.
To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as votive activities, karma kanda.
And offense, to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is always an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema.
Let us
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
first read this.
Ah.
You can read, Prabhu.
Let us offer our humble obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desired trees, who can fulfill all desires and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Nanda Gaudiya Vaishnavanta ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Prem Nande. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Thanks, Prabhu, for joining. Thank you, Vishnu.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Have you here again.
Hari Bol. Jai Shri
Krishna
Prabhupada.
Prema.
Now we are gonna have usually like this, like earlier than usually, because they changed the clock, so now we can do it earlier.
Hari Bol. Yes.
Okay, see you tomorrow, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
See you all, Prabhu. Hari Bol.